actually. So Michael from Fortinet, one of the defence camp managers, one of the big things that we've been talking about recently is SASE. So it's all about kind of including zero trust network access, it's all about data sovereignty, firewall, and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, that is removing the networking security piece from on-prem to somewhere else. Is that something that you, I guess, more aimed towards yourself, Johnny? Would that be something you'd be looking for, even though it's removing it from your site, or is it something you just, because it's leaving your boundaries, you don't want to touch it?
Well, I mean, I think the boundary doesn't kind of exist in the zero trust perspective. You know, for 10 years ago, you like the disco kind of style, you brought everybody in and then you kind of check them on the front, you know, they're on your guest list. Now it's more around wherever it kind of is, the boundaries isn't there. So yeah, you had old things around firewalls and things like that. You know, I bring traffic in, I've got some firewalls that says, you know, you can go and do this, this, and this. When kind of going forward, you want that enforcement piece right up front. I don't want to have to bring people in to check they've got yellow socks on or whatever. That's a really bad analogy. I want to do that sort of, you know, right at the, when they request the service. So, you know, yeah, and there's loads of SaaS, you know, there's that kind of service edge, security service edge based stuff. You know, there's all the great principles that Adam was kind of outlining around that. Yeah. For us, I think it's a big thing is that all of it is banned, especially from a policing kind of perspective, is banned on the trust. Because it binds all of that piece. It's a bit like I think we talked about the other day. I was using an analogy from the Exorcist, great horror film. And in there, you know, the local priest, when the older priest comes, Father Mary, he said, "Oh, I see these things in Reagan. I think she's manifesting all these things." And he goes, "There is only one." And in all of this, there is only one thing, and that is that trust and not assume trust piece around that.
I think the SASE question is a good question, right? So it's you know, it's a Gartner construct that's nicely clumps together a number of different technologies to deliver a user security zero trust piece, right? So it makes sense for certain elements of that to exist in the cloud, right? So things like browser isolation. I mean, well, you know, why wouldn't you put it in the cloud? Because you know, what else are you going to do with browser isolation, right? So you know, things like that absolutely make sense to be in the cloud of your SSE strategy or your SASE strategy. From a zero trust access perspective, I think it makes sense to be in the cloud if that's where your apps and data is. If your apps and data that you're giving access to are on-prem, I think it makes sense to put your control points on-prem. And if they're spread across the two, then it makes sense to put some on-prem, some in the cloud, and provide that dynamic access from the user perspective, regardless of where that is. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, you know, going on that. So, you know, you've got a mixed economy and a hybrid model, and then you've got the really special cases where you've got a really secret environment that has no connection to the internet. Yeah. But I still need to attest the users. I still need to provide policy enforcement or something to say, actually, I know who you are, where you're coming from, and you're going to access really sensitive data out there. So
I think it's interesting, actually, if you go back and look at the NCSC Zero Trust kind of doctrine principles, and their first one is basically knowing your stuff, know your users, know your architecture, know your services, know where they are. And actually, A, that knowledge of legacy states is not as thorough as it should be, but B, it's that point around understanding what approaches will be acceptable in work in that model, because they're entirely dependent on the context of the service. Right? So actually, if your users are coming from unmanaged devices over the internet, that enforcement and that kind of SASE model makes absolute perfect sense when you can first interact with them, you want to do some interpretation and posture checking. If you're coming from managed semi-controlled or third-party device you regularly interact with, you can be more prescriptive about what they should see, at which point business fee loses benefits, but it becomes less that initial line and is then partly supplementary controls. You can build up that suite and that kind of topology